Hey Levs! Today we're chatting with Sanitation Conversation. This conversation may seem a little bit overwhelming for some, or maybe it's a reminder for others. But what I really want you to keep in mind is how important this is. And if you get overwhelmed, Devawn says it best: focus on implementing one thing at a time. We've all been doing things the way we've been taught. And depending on where you went to school or how you learned makeup, we're all taught different things about our kits, our jobs, and sanitation. With everything that's been going on with COVID 19, hygiene is going to be the utmost priority. It is the utmost priority. Our clients are going to be very much aware of what to look for, and you want to do everything you possibly can to keep them safe and yourself safe. I really encourage you to jump into the show notes at the end of this conversation for a link to the Sanitation Conversation certification course. If you feel it's a great fit for you, great. Dive into the program and start implementing immediately if you aren't already. It's not an affiliate link and I don't get anything from it. I just want to stress how important this is. If you feel like the course is not the way you want to go, totally cool. Jot things down that you feel you might need to change in your practice and start looking for answers online, on YouTube, asking questions in groups. Do what you got to do to make those changes. We're all in this together and I want nothing more than to see you succeed in the best way that you can. Hey there, you're listening to the Bridal Beauty Business Podcast. This is a show all about the bridal hair and makeup business. From frequently asked questions about clients and contracts, to some serious debates on topics we seem to be divided on as industry professionals, and of course, interviews with our mentors and inspiration. We're going to dive into our chat with Devawn from Sanitation Conversation, but if you're listening to this on Google or Apple, I want you to stop, hit pause, and leave me a review. I absolutely love creating these podcasts with you, and it's because of these likes, these shares, these reviews that I'm able to keep bringing on these phenomenal individuals to share all their knowledge with us. And as always, I've done all the hard work and I've created all the key takeaways in the show notes for you. Well, I'm so excited to chat with you. And
Me too.
I'm going to go back and pretend like we didn't have a conversation just 2 seconds ago. I just kind of start from the beginning so I don't forget what I'm going to ask you, because I want to dive in here really deep. I feel like there's a lot of questions right now, and even with everything that's going on, it's gotten even more important and more critical. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on, Devawn. I'm super excited to have you here. To start off with, do you want to tell me a little bit about Sanitation Conversation? Because I feel like you guys kind of just popped up.
Yeah. We actually have been around for a couple years. But when we started off, it was just a mission. We didn't have a program. We didn't have training or certification. A mission to really just bring awareness, I should say, because we still are a mission-based brand. But so we started, I own a school in the Midwest, and it was really our students that got this started, this separate business within a business, I guess. And so the feedback that we kept hearing was when students would go on different jobs, whether it was movie sets or whether it was bridal gigs or whatever it was, they were so appalled at other artists' sanitation. And we didn't realize how, I always knew how bad it was. I've been in the industry a long time, and I have taken many classes, gone to many trade shows, so I knew how bad it was. But to hear it from the students, it was like, wow, nothing has changed. In fact, it's gotten worse. And so they were really the ones who inspired me to take action, because they just thought it was so vastly different how we taught it, and how, things they had learned or blogs they had read or videos they had watched, it still didn't compare to how we were teaching it. And so we started with some social channels and just posted scary pictures, of staph infections and pink eye, and tried a scare tactic in order to get people more aware of the brand and what we were trying to accomplish. And then we thought, well, that's great, only they're still not doing what they need to be doing. And so I then decided we really need to develop a program, because there's no solution. I mean, we were telling them about the problem, but I am a solutions kind of girl, and a problem solver, a fixer, right? Self-proclaimed. So I knew, this can't be the end. We have to supply something. And so we did. We created a training with a microbiologist, and we launched that last March, so March 2019. And it was a slow go, no doubt. We were knocking on doors, doors that didn't want to be knocked on. Veteran artists, celebrity artists, makeup brands, when you infringe on how they do makeup and what their own core values are,
Yeah.
it's interesting how the door gets shut real quick.
Especially when they've been doing it for so long and they're kind of set in the ways, and it's like, well, I've been doing
Yes.
it for this long. I haven't had an issue. Why change it now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. So it was a slow go. And then we redid the program. We wanted to make it more user friendly. So we relaunched that, I want to say in June of 2019. And then we partnered with a couple of schools, a couple of businesses, just small partnerships. We've been talking, in the meantime, we've been talking to um, bigger partners like unions, and we're trying to figure out how to get this at the state level. And so we've progressed, but it's still, again, it's about the mindset. Nobody's going to want to invest in something, one, if they don't think they need it. So one, I've been trying to call people out on this, and our branding and our social outlets, like, this is not okay if you're doing this. I know the other day we had some controversy with somebody working on the back of their hand, and it just blew up social media, and we're just not afraid to do that. So anyways, I'm rambling on from your original question.
But it's still really good information, and I think it's leading me to, like, I know I had some questions prepared, but it actually, I want to call you out on a couple of things, because I want to get to the reason as to why people do need to do this, and
Yeah.
why they feel like they might not need it, but why they actually do. So sanitation conversation, what's the difference between what they learn with you and your program versus what they might or may not be learning if they did already go to school and they did have a little bit of sanitation background in school? What's the difference in from that side of things?
Yeah, and probably what you're asking is because I keep using the phrase health grade sanitation, and that's really the big difference. But to break down what health grade sanitation is, it's definitely very different from what you've learned at the state guideline level, or even in makeup school, or even from YouTube. And so there's all kinds of different scenarios. But first of all, you have to know about diseases and about cross contamination. So I know everyone knows, oh, you don't use a disposable twice. Okay, well, that's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're called disposables. But although we still find people using it in the eyebrow and then putting it in the mascara tube, right? Trying to conserve their disposables, which I understand that too. I mean, for the environment, we would want to do that, but we have to also protect the people. So those are obvious things, but I would say the big game changer is knowing when to use what and in what, and how to use it. So for instance, let's use alcohol and hospital grade disinfectant. We happen to use Lucaside, which is an amazing product. You can check them out. They're in the beauty industry. It's kind of like barbicide, but a little bit different. Still kills viruses, bacteria, fungi, all the things that are scary. I would say here's one of the points that and why we are so different, and we look at it from a health grade perspective. One, our station is cleaned off right away with health grade disinfectant. You have no idea what kind of bacteria is on the station or wherever you're setting up. I know for bridal, right? You do a lot of bridal. You're in hotel rooms, you're in bathrooms, you're in like all kinds of crazy places.
People's kitchen
And
tables and counters.
yes, you have no idea what kind of bacteria is on there. And then you're laying your products on.
I think we lost you there for a second. It might be freezing. Can you still hear me?
Be transferred to the
There we
face.
go.
So we use hospital grade disinfectant to clean that station. We use hospital grade disinfectant on any tools that come near mucous membranes. So no one really talks about this either. Those of you who have gone to maybe aesthetic school or cosmetology school, you probably know, or even nursing school or a doctor's program, med school, you probably know about mucous membranes, but the vast majority of artists do not. And so mucous membranes are anywhere where there is liquid, if you will, near the face, right? And I say liquid just to break it down in layman's terms. Yeah. But that would be your eye, your nose, right? Your mouth. These are all places where mucous membranes hang out. And mucous membranes can easily transfer bacteria and viruses. And so when you're using, like, for instance, an eyeliner inside the eye. That was very popular for a long time. The white eyeliner, then the black eyeliner, then tight lining, then, you know what I mean? All these crazy things. And it's all touching mucous membranes. Everyone thinks, I shouldn't say everyone, a lot of artists think, well, I'm just going to sharpen that. Okay, well, what's in the sharpener, right? Or they say, I'm going to just soak it in alcohol, or I'll spray it with alcohol. But here's the thing, alcohol doesn't kill that kind of bacteria. Things like staph and pink eye, MRSA, these are not killed by regular 70% alcohol. You have to use a hospital grade disinfectant. That's a viricide, bactericide, any of those. That's what you have to use.
And I think a
And
lot of
so
people don't know that. If they just assume that they're using alcohol, they're using brush cleaner that has a high concentration of alcohol in it, then that's enough. They can dip it in there, let it dry and go, or sharpen it and
and
go.
even, you know, brush cleaner, a high concentrate of alcohol, you're never going to get that high of a concentrate because you'll ruin your brushes. So
Mm-hmm.
no company is going to make the appropriate solution because they don't want to be in trouble for ruining your brushes.
Yeah. And we don't want to use pure alcohol in our brushes either, which is tricky because I've done a lot of different makeup schools, like growing up and in the courses that I've taken. And when it comes to sanitization, that was the standard alcohol. And then shampoo and conditioner and like
Yeah.
just 70% alcohol. And that's like the
There's a
one thing you don't
famous
want to do.
school in New York that we were at a trade show, and they were just down the booth, right, or down the aisle from us, right in their own booth, and they had a graduate come over and say, you know, I was taught to use 99% alcohol, and it's even in their book. And she shows me the book, right, and
Oh.
I was like, wow. I mean, even when teaching, and this is why we say people are just so misinformed, and why we thought it was so important to create the program. So those are just a few examples, the hospital grade disinfectant, and also just being very mindful of touching the face, touching the products, putting your tools back in your kit. This is just, you know, we make sure that every tool and every product is wiped down before and after it comes out of the kit, because bacteria will sit on it.
Yeah.
And I think this is definitely not something that most artists are doing.
And it's so important. Like, I didn't realize how important, like, as an artist, like, I'll throw myself under the bus for this episode. I really don't care. I didn't realize how important some things were until becoming a lash artist and working in direct contact with the eye and working with skin and noticing how just tiny little things transfer from one place to the next. And it's absolutely disgusting. And I understand some people are lazy, they're in a rush, they're working on 6 people at a time, and then they have to pack up and go somewhere else. So the time is also a part of it. But it's like, this is your kit, this is your livelihood. If you make somebody sick, you pass an infection on to somebody else, your whole livelihood, your career, that person's health, your reputation is gone. So you need to make the time in order to do this because this is super, super important. And now I know that you guys are based out in the US, correct?
Yeah, we're in the Midwest.
So does it matter if somebody's coming in and learning from you from like Europe or Canada or anywhere in the world, or like is the regulations different? Like the regulations are different, but are the processes for cleaning and the standards for cleaning very similar?
Very similar. I'd say the only thing that and this is really perspective, and we're actually going to do an episode on this, and I'll make sure to share it with you because I know you wanted to talk about beauty blenders. But you know, there is an autoclave. If you've gone to aesthetic school, there's something called an autoclave that can get rid of bacteria. They could definitely go to the next level and use an autoclave for some of their products or tools rather. But, you know, I don't see anyone carrying around an autoclave. I know for a fact that most of what we presented in the application process is not going to be done. But even if we're 50%, you know,
Yeah.
and they itch their way up to at these levels, the health grade level, to 100% recognizing and following those guidelines, then we're getting somewhere. So I would say no, they're very universal. You know, whatever hospital or whatever microbiologist you talk to, health grade worker, you know, whoever it is, you know, a family member, I think they would agree with all of the content that we've presented as far as bacteria and different you know, whether we were talking about mites or fungi or whatever we were talking about, I think no matter where it is, they would all agree it's standard medicine. And then just as far as the processes, they are very standardized for a health grade, from a health grade perspective. The only thing I would say they could maybe add is an autoclave, and that's, you know, if they want to carry one around.
Those are big and expensive too, right?
They can be. I know there's smaller ones. They are expensive. I haven't seen one for less than $200-300, but I want to say that they do have smaller ones. I remember in school, aesthetic school, a million years ago, we used to put our brushes in there, our facial brushes.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, but to answer your question honestly, this is something anyone in the world could follow.
Okay, and I know the autoclave might seem like overkill, but at the same point, if you compare our industry and the way that we're in contact with certain areas of the body and bodily fluids and all of that, it's we don't take the precautions. Well, I don't want to put everyone into the same circle, but many of us don't take the same precautions that other industries really do. Like autoclaves are there
Yeah.
for a reason. Sanitizing tools, gloves, just all of these little bits and things, they might seem excessive, but as soon as you kind of have an open mind and start doing the research and looking at things from a different perspective, I think it'll be really clear why it's so important.
Yeah, and think about if you were working on somebody who had a really compromised immune system and they could not risk at all getting
Yeah.
any kind of bacterial infection or anything, right? Pink eye, anything. Do you know how to protect that client? And I would say most artists would not.
And that could have been grandmas that we've been working on for years. And like maybe they didn't even know, right?
Right.
So just because we've been safe for so long doesn't mean it's going to continue to be that way, especially with more viruses emerging now as well. So like, what are the repercussions other than a weakened immune system? Like working on somebody with a weakened immune system and exposing them. What are some of the repercussions that you can have, including staph infections? Because we use that word a lot, but I don't think everybody knows exactly what that is and what it means.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the repercussions you can have from not following proper hygiene?
Yeah, and you know we've used some of this in our marketing where we've seen really talented celebrities and actors, actresses who have been infected by staph, and it almost looked like acne, and they had little pop marks, and it was actually almost, it's not flesh eating, but it is a blood infection, and so it started to scar their face so severely. And if you look up headlines about artists and models, or sorry, models and actors that have been affected by staph, you'll see it has always been from the makeup artist. So it's so horrible. And the same with MRSA, right? Really highly contagious infection that can easily be transferred. And MRSA lives for a very long time. And I don't want to quote anything because I'm not the microbiologist, but Jan, who we have worked with to design the program, said it can live for weeks on the counter, you know, if it isn't properly sanitized. So another one is pink eye. That's so common, right? Herpes. Even though we know herpes in most circumstances isn't always transferred from client to client, certain herpes, right? Viruses, you surely can transfer. I have a friend that had herpes, and we used to share lipstick. We were kids. We didn't know. We were like 12. And I thought, I always used to think, wow, how do I not get that? I don't know how I wasn't creeped out. But when it's your best friend, you're like, oh, it's fine. I know she's clean. But she carried the herpes virus and I did not.
Yeah.
But an artist could easily, and this happened to her, she would have a herpes here and then all of a sudden she'd have a cold sore, whatever you want to call it. And then all of a sudden it's over here. Oh, then it ended up over here on her face, right?
Oh,
And this was
no.
all cross contamination. I remember like we were young, we wanted to go out, and all of a sudden her face is like filled with herpes all around her mouth because she's using makeup, and this was on herself.
Yeah.
So imagine if you're the artist, the professional, and you've done that.
That's so sad. So what does proper brush cleaning look like? So when you're out on location, what's a great way to disinfect or clean your brushes to the best of your abilities while you're out there? And then what should you be doing at the end of the day, the week, or the month?
Yeah. Well, I think that if you come in contact with any kind of mucous membrane, I would say the very best thing you can do is have multiple brushes. But as far as the steps, I would say you need to clean them first. So you need to get the debris off. A lot of times artists are cleaning them and all they've done is gotten the debris off. So even with their brush cleaner. And so you could use a brush cleaner that doesn't have a high content of alcohol. Even tea tree is a natural antiseptic. That's very important. But first is to clean and get the debris off, meaning all the extra makeup. The second is to sanitize. This is really where the alcohol comes in. And the third is to disinfect. And disinfect is using a hospital grade disinfectant. Now, this gets tricky because brushes are porous. Hospital grade disinfectant is very invasive. It will destroy your brushes. But in cases where you have come in contact with mucous membranes, it's essential. So for example, a lip brush, if you don't want to use a disposable, because none of us really do, then this is something that needs to be soaked, first cleaned, sanitized, and then disinfected in the hospital grade disinfectant. And sometimes it has to soak for 10 minutes in order to really kill that bacteria.
Okay, so you definitely do need multiple sets of brushes when you're working when you're working, especially bridal parties. I think that's the easiest way to go about it, because if you're waiting the 10 minutes in between,
Yeah.
and people are like, okay, well, I don't want to go out and spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on brushes. There's lines out there, like you can have your main very special high end set for your bride. But then when it comes to your bridal party, Morphe has sales all the time. Royal Langnickel has sales all the time. So many companies out there have sales all the time where you can get brushes for $3, $4. So you can stock up and have a set of 6 per each individual type of brush. And then at the end of the year, if they are getting a little bit ruined by doing all the disinfection that we need to be doing, you can toss them and replace them. And it's not going to cost you 30, 40, 50, 60, $100 a brush, right?
Yeah, and I would even that's a great idea and a great resource for your listeners. I would also say that you don't have to buy every single brush. Maybe it's just those core brushes that get very close to the eye, or that lip brush that gets near mucous membranes. While you can have different skin cells on the brushes, so like the powder brushes, you are definitely able to clean those effectively with even just going to the step of sanitizing. So making sure you use that alcohol. So I would say, those bigger fluff brushes and powder brushes aren't as important as something that touches mucous membranes.
So it's the mucous membrane brushes that need to go into the disinfection. Like that's the ones that need to soak
Yes.
for the 10 minutes. So a powder brush is okay. What about a foundation brush that you're using to apply around the nose area?
Yeah, I would be careful because again, somebody just even has a little bit of a runny nose, right? Think about that. Or we use this silly saying, my friends and I, we say, you got a passenger on your bus, meaning you got a boogie. But they could have something hanging right there, right? And now you've just put it in, and we know how dense those foundation brushes are, right? So there's no getting that passenger out of the brush.
See, when you start
Um,
thinking about it, it's really gross.
it is. So I would be very careful around the nose area because yes, and think about how skinny the area is between our nose and our mouth. So, and a lot of times artists take that foundation brush and they go right over the lips because we
Yeah.
like to have that lip neutralized,
Yeah.
right? So that's very common.
So you maybe using a sponge when you're doing the lip area to save your foundation brush as well, and
Right.
doing that around the nose area as well, just so you don't have to go through the process of taking it the extra step to disinfect it at the end after cleaning and
Yeah, and
sanitizing it.
I don't think it's that big of a deal because when we contour, we're not contouring so much above the lip and between the nose.
No.
I mean, it's really everywhere else. So it isn't going to kill you to use a sponge, in that area.
Super easy, and it's definitely worth saving that a little extra time and having one less brush you need to deal with.
Yeah.
So what about proper eyeliner and lip liner cleaning steps?
Yeah, so this is definitely, I know not everybody's going to love this, but I liquid eyeliner is a big deal, right? Because a lot of times, and I know this is a former artist, we love the applicator that the liquid eyeliner comes with, right? That's sometimes why we buy the product because the applicator is so amazing. So you can't use it. All of my applicators from the time I started makeup, and I didn't really know what I was doing with sanitation, but I knew enough to cut my applicators off.
Smart.
So there is no app. So my client knows too, and I'm not tempted to use it. But there's actually great eyeliner disposables that you can use to put the liquid eyeliner on. So we absolutely recommend that. Gel liner, you can easily depot and put on a palette and use it from there. Pencil liners, there's a protocol we use as far as how to sharpen, how to soak it in the hospital grade disinfectant, and then you can use it how you want comfortably. If you want to line inside the eye or smudge it and get a little kind of right into the mucous membrane, it's okay because you're using something that can kill any bacteria that might have been in that mucous membrane. So are there any others maybe that I haven't covered?
I think those are the main ones. I know when I put up my post and I was asking people what they wanted to know, it was the eyeliner and the lip liner that kept coming up because people are either spraying it or sharpening it, and they wanted to know like what should they actually be doing with this pencil eyeliner or pencil lip liner. Like what should they actually be doing in order to keep it clean?
Yeah. Yeah. Did I answer that?
No, you just told us what we shouldn't be doing.
Oh, okay. So well, here's what you need to do. You should really have a metal sharpener so that it can sustain the hospital grade disinfectant. And you want to make sure that we went back and forth with Jan, the microbiologist, because we actually used to teach our students to soak the pencil in the hospital grade disinfectant. Only there was no sure way to make sure that hospital grade disinfectant didn't get in somebody's eye, right?
Okay.
And so then we made the decision to stay within health grade regulations that we would soak the sharpener, which is why I'm saying it has to be fully submerged, soak for 5 to 10 minutes. And the time depends on the hospital grade disinfectant you use. So Lucocide will tell you how long it takes. Barbicide will tell you how long it takes. Any other product that you use will tell you how long it needs to soak, for your listeners that are wondering, well, where does the time come in? And then you will take the pencil sharpener and sharpen the pencil with that disinfected pencil sharpener, and then it's clean. Now, after you use it, you'll then put the sharpener back in, do the same thing again. And as long as you're cleaning that pencil sharpener, there can't be any bacteria harbored in there. And then, as we know, when you sharpen the pencil, you're getting rid of any old shavings or any old bacteria that might be on there, because you're obviously going to do it enough to get it sharp again or to get rid of the bacteria.
So that pencil sharpener that you have in the Lucocide or the Barbicide, do you need to replace the liquid in between each time you're putting it back in, or can you use the same liquid for your bridal party?
No, good question. You have to get rid of the liquid. Although it probably would be fine, you don't know what maybe got on the side of the metal cup, or what still was hanging out within the solution that the solution didn't kill. I would absolutely recommend changing it out. And here's the thing, even with Lucocide, it's so inexpensive. They give you a concentrate, you'll probably have it for a year. So because you have to dilute it. So it is not expensive to change it out. And I would recommend having a couple of cups so that you can just quickly do that if you have a big bridal party, that you're not spending all your time, or if you have the luxury of having an assistant. These are things he or she could be trained to do.
And then can you just dump it down the drain afterward, or does it have to be disposed of in a certain way?
You really should soak it up. You don't want to put it down the drain. It is a hazardous liquid. So you really want to soak it up in a paper towel. In our training, we have you put it in a biohazard bag. But even if you have a grocery bag, or you bring, like, I used to bring Ziploc bags with me so it wasn't messy at the client's house. Mm-hmm. Put it in a Ziploc bag, soak it up with the paper towel, put it in the Ziploc bag, and call it a day.
Awesome. All right, let's go through some beauty myths and cleaning myths. So if I'm spot cleaning my brushes when I'm working on them, and I'm doing the whole cleaning, sanitizing, disinfecting, then I don't have to deep clean them at the end of the week, the end of the day, or the end of the month. That's a question. It's going to be like true, and we'll do this in like a true or false format, and then you can explain.
False. You need to, like we just talked about, you have to clean, sanitize, and disinfect. And so if you're, doing a quick, with those bigger powder brushes, if you're just doing a quick clean and sanitize at the end of the day, and really for the health of your brushes, get that product off there and get that solution off there. So I would say, after you're done working for the weekend, I would try and do a deep cleaning for your brushes, and it will help condition your brushes, right?
And now, if I leave them for too long, is the bacteria on that brush going to start to like multiply? It
won't necessarily multiply, but think about this. This raises a really good question, and this is also featured in our training, is not putting your brushes back where your clean brushes are. You need to have two separate containers, or whatever you do, even your brush belt, two separate areas where you put dirty brushes versus clean, because what can contaminate them is obviously a dirty brush touching a clean brush.
Awesome. Now, if I am using a liquid eyeliner and I want to use a felt tip applicator, if I spray alcohol on it, then I can use it in between all my clients. straight with through the applicator.
False. False. Again, alcohol does not kill the kind of pathogens found in mucous membranes. So if you really were desperate to use that felt tip, you could do one of two things. Well, really just one thing. And then I'll tell you one thing off the books, which is you really need to give that client that felt tip eyeliner, or let that be part of their investment, however you want to handle that. I have, back when I was not doing things the right way, I dipped that felt tip in hospital grade disinfectant. Here's the problem. It's like a sponge, that felt tip. So I couldn't be sure if I got all of it out, and it changed the consistency of my product. It really ruined the product.
Yeah. And then sitting in there in the jar, like you don't know what it's going to do to it at all.
You don't. Now, Krylon years ago used to make this felt tip where you could change the tips out.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was cool. Actually, I'm sorry, I lied. That was an eraser tip. It was like a makeup eraser, but you could change the tip. But that was great too, because you obviously wouldn't want to use that eraser on every client.
Well, if there's anybody innovative listening out there right now, then they need to create this for felt tip liners, right? Just add it to that.
Disposable felt tip liners.
The higher the alcohol percentage, the better it is for cleaning. True or false?
False. So 99% evaporates way too quickly. You should not go over 70%. You need the time for it to do its job, which is to sanitize, right? And so anything over 70% is not productive.
So if it's drying too fast, it's not working.
No.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so I'm not sure. I just want to get your view on this, but I don't know if this is up your alley or not. So if this is kind of outside of it, we can totally skip over it. I kind of wanted to know about counterfeits, like the products that you're buying at Marshall's and Winners versus the flea markets. Like if Marshall's and Winners is the real thing versus like the knockoffs that are in the flea market, and why they're safe or not safe.
Yeah, I can't speak specifically to, Marshall's or TJ Maxx or any of those other places that, and I love shopping there, but I can't say I buy cosmetics. I would guess that whoever they purchase for it may not necessarily be counterfeit, but it could be expired. It could have had a flaw in the process of creating the product. Or it could be an old batch from an old season. So I know that seems to be mostly what's happening. I don't know. What's that?
Is that bad?
I don't think it's bad. I just think, know what you're buying, read the ingredients, read the expiration dates. Sometimes I found, though, they're not all that much, that much cheaper. I mean, I've definitely seen things at Marshall's where I'm like, for $2 or $3, I'll go buy it brand new and everybody wasn't touching it. You know what I mean? So I think just be careful. I don't think that's a bad thing. Alcohol is alcohol. Tea tree oil is tea tree oil. Alcohol or hospital grade disinfectant is hospital. Just read the ingredients.
Okay. Beauty blenders, what is the verdict? So this is like the industry debate for the longest time. Use them, don't use them, clean them, disinfect them, throw them away, give them to the client. What are we doing with these?
Oh, I know. We have made so many people that were really rooting for us and like so excited about our program and, doing so much on social media for us, and then totally pull back, ask us not to tag them, they no longer wanted to support our brand, and all over beauty blenders. And the truth of the matter is, any sponge, I don't care if it's your kitchen sponge or your bath sponge, your loofah, or a beauty blender, sponges are the perfect place to harbor bacteria. Now, we are doing a special, actually tomorrow I'm getting back online with Jan, and we're going to talk about beauty blenders from a different perspective, because I said to her, this is a heated argument, and I love beauty blenders. And I remember when those girls were at a trade show, I don't even know, probably 20 years ago when they started.
Wow.
And I was like, what are they, insane? $40 for an egg-shaped brush? They're crazy. And then, of course, it revolutionized how we applied makeup. So I am not against beauty blender. You cannot clean it sufficiently with the soap that they provide and use it on another client. I don't even know for yourself, but for me, I'm willing to take the chance on myself. I love the beauty blender. I have advised artists to buy this as part of your service. They get to keep it, wash it for them. They can keep it. There is some talk now. Jan and I were talking about this. She researched autoclaves. You can put it in an autoclave. That would be a proper way to disinfect it. And you can put it in your microwave. So I
Okay.
don't know that I love radiation in my makeup, but it may be something, assuming your microwave is clean and not full of food. But Jan and I are going to talk about this tomorrow. But I'm pretty sure that's what she's going to allude to, is that, you can possibly use your microwave to get that heated enough in order to kill the bacteria, because that's what
Fingers
kills.
crossed.
Yeah, right. And so we will have more news on that tomorrow. But there is no way. I don't care what soap, tea tree. I've used all kinds of antibacterial soaps. There's no way you can get to the heart of that sponge and get the bacteria out.
It's literally a sponge. It is a sponge.
I mean, I'm bogged out by my husband's like, what do we eat? Kitchen sponges around here? Why do we always have new ones? Because the second I'm bogged out by, and I put mine in my dishwasher, I
Oh, that's
always am
smart.
washing, and then it falls apart. And he's like, we go through these like we go through toilet paper. But I'm like, it is gross. So
Yeah.
a lot of times, and this is so wasteful, but I'll use paper towel or I'll use a dish towel because I can't even stand using the sponge.
I use paper towel to dry my face. Like anytime I wash my face, I never use a towel or anything else. Like I always use kitchen paper towel to dry my face, just so I'm not transferring anything onto
Yeah,
it.
that's great. That's great.
What about reusing client supplied lashes? So not lashes that are fresh out of a container, but you're doing a bridal party and they hand you a pair of lashes that they use like who knows how many times or from who knows when. Like, what's your view on that?
I mean, same thing. There's probably bacteria on there. I don't know that I would argue with the client over it. I don't know that it's worth it. I would make sure that however I'm applying my lash glue is not touching, not going back to touching my tools or my things.
Ooh.
We do use a, we use the eyeliner disposable. You can use to actually put glue on that and then put it on their lashes, so it's never touching any of your things because you don't know where they've been.
Mm-hmm.
For their own sake, and because you're a lash specialist, right? We know how easy bacteria mites grow on the lashes. So I don't know why they would want to use it, but in some circumstances, I get it because they're mink. Maybe they paid $50 or $80. I could see that. So I would say, and you don't want to use anything really harmful on the lash, right? Like alcohol, or if it's going back on their lash, you might want to have a consent. If they got some kind of reaction or some kind of mite, you may want to have a consent that says, and it seems silly, but things happen, that basically says, we're reusing some of your items and I am not responsible should you have a reaction or any kind of infection.
That's actually a great idea because at the end of the day, if something were to happen, even if you use their lashes, it's still your responsibility. If they have a reaction, it's going to come back on you. It's word for word. And you were the one that's supposed to be knowledgeable. So if you've warned them
Yeah, it's
of
your
the risk,
reputation
yeah,
that's ruined over them reusing a pair of lashes, because they could easily say it wasn't the lashes, it was your makeup.
yeah. And like, who's going to know the truth at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
So that's really important. I think the idea of having a waiver, if someone is really pushing on it, is actually a really good idea as well. Here's one that I am super guilty for, and I know a lot of artists are guilty for, and it's going to be one of my hardest habits to break. It's working off the back of my hand. So I do carry hand sanitizer, and I use that between clients. I make sure I always have hand sanitizer in my kit, and I wash my hands in between clients. But you're telling us like that's still not okay, right? Why?
No. I
Why?
love that you're being so transparent, though. I love that you're being honest, because there are so many habits to break that we just thought were okay. And habits in any circumstance are hard to break, right? So, no, it is not okay. And here's why. Again, same reason: you have skin cells that are transferred from that brush to that client's face. And that is a problem. This is, what if you had a tiny little cut? What if you had a little scrape? What if they had a scrape, or you got near their mucous membranes and you had a little tiny sore on your hand?
Ew.
Imagine what could happen. I do have a great solution to this, because I love working off the back of my hand, because gel liner, right? We love when it heats up. It's
Mm-hmm.
essential.
And Cinema
Um,
Secrets, the what, all the creamy foundations.
Yes, yes. And so I get that. So there's two solutions. One, you can buy medical tape and use that. There also are IV bandages. So if you've ever gotten an IV, it's clear, right? It's very thin. You have to be careful because I was using these often and I started ripping my skin off.
Yeah, your skin gets really dry. Like I tried this once or twice, but I'm wondering if you were to put a cream or a lotion on your hand
I
first and
did.
then apply it.
Yeah, it's a little more slippery, but you could almost wrap it around like a band. You know what I mean? If you're going to use
Okay.
the tape. But those are the two solutions. Absolutely, you cannot put it on the back of your hand. You are transferring skin cells and anything that could be lurking on the back of your hand to the client's face, and then vice versa. So you're not, neither one of you are safe.
And let's be real, that Inglot liner that we're all using, that does not come off even when we wash your hands and sanitize and use brush cleaner. And it's
I
on there
used to
for the
look like a
entirety.
mechanic when I used to do that. I used to, even if I used my precautions, just if it got anywhere near my fingers or my hands, it was everywhere.
Yeah, it's horrible, but it's great at the same time.
Yeah, for sure.
So if my client does not have any physical infection on her, like nothing that I can physically see, like there's nothing on her lips, then it's okay. Is it okay to use a lip brush as long as I'm disinfecting and sanitizing it afterward, or should I be using a disposable just to be safe?
No, typically we recommend disposables if there's something suspicious on their lip. Then absolutely there's no question. But if not, you're welcome to use a lip liner. You just have to make sure you disinfect, clean, sanitize, and then disinfect in a hospital grade disinfectant, not just alcohol.
And then how do you cleanly work with acne? When somebody that has like active acne and they might have a little bit of a broken skin as well, like do you still use brushes and sanitize and disinfect after, or do you just opt for sponges? What's the best way to
I
handle
would
that?
absolutely opt for sponges, and I'd be really careful because obviously you can even spread their acne, right? All of that, those open pustules that may be going on. So I would definitely say use sponges where you can. And cream products are great for somebody who has acne because they tend to use some drying agents, right, to dry that acne out, or Accutane, or and so cream products are great. So you really could do the whole application just about with sponges.
Okay, sponges are the way to go when it comes to acne. Um, what if you have a client and you're not really sure? Like you just get a vibe and you're kind of like I feel like they have something, whether it's like physical or whether it's some sort of illness. Like how do you go about navigating that conversation to protect yourself?
So have you met with the client, or you it's just
Face to face when you get there. Like they just hop into your chair and you're getting ready to work on them, but like say they're like coughing and sneezing, or say they look like you somebody that says that somebody that has a red eye, even like someone that has a little bit of redness and they're like, no, it's not pink eye. But if you haven't seen pink eye and it hasn't gotten pussy yet, you don't really know, but they have that redness there and you're just not comfortable. Like how do you
Yeah, I
handle that
would definitely
conversation?
take the precautions as if they do. Treat every client like, and this is the thing, if in every application you're treating the client like they already have these diseases, then you're being very, very careful already. So I would say for sure use disposables wherever you can. Make sure you're using the hospital grade disinfectant. And if you yourself feel like you may catch something, or and brides, we don't want to leave them hanging just because they caught a cold or they have a sinus infection. I think you could carry masks with you and just say, um, I'm just worried about myself. I don't want you to be offended. This is a personal choice, because I don't want to tell you to lie, but because I'm worried about my immune system or something like that. And I think that would be okay, rather than saying, I'm worried about you infecting me. I would think, you would hope at this point people would just be honest, but I mean, sometimes they don't even know they're carrying something.
Have you seen
I
the
know
news
I
reports out
always feel
there?
guilty.
People are not that
What's
honest.
that?
I said, have you seen the news reports out there? People are not that honest. Even now with the whole coronavirus thing, people are like intentionally infecting other people and they could be a little bit more precautious. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah. Well, I know. And I've had lots of situations as a bridal artist that um, blow my mind.
So, other than what we're doing while we're on location to be sanitary and using like the medical disinfectant, is there anything that we need to be doing with our kits on a regular basis, whether it's like monthly, weekly, like when we go home at the end of the day, aside from cleaning our brushes? Is there anything else that we should be doing with our kits to maintain that level of hygiene?
Yeah. So before you put anything back in your kit, it needs to be wiped down before any pallet, any tool goes back into your kit, because otherwise, yeah, you're going to have to deconstruct your kit and clean your entire kit and sanitize it and make sure that there isn't any lurking places that bacteria could begin to grow. So as long as you're doing that during your application and putting it back in, I think you're fine. the only thing I would say is just from a makeup artist perspective is make sure that everything you have is not expired. This is obviously another way that bacteria likes to grow. I would not keep your makeup in a heated place because heat definitely helps bacteria grow even quicker. So make sure that your kit is kept in a cool place. You don't want to have it get from warm to hot, right? Then that also is creating bacteria. So just make sure that you're being mindful of where your kit's being stored and all of the contents in it, that everything that goes in and out is always sanitized.
Okay, that's really important. And the whole warm to hot thing and leaving a kit in the car overnight, it's bad enough to kind of risk having it broken into, robbed, but the whole with the heat, the creams, the bacteria, and having that multiply, that's exactly what you want to be avoiding as well. I feel like
Absolutely.
we have just like touched on the tip of the iceberg of everything there is to know. I feel like we're just going through and addressing like what the main things that we're seeing are, but I know there's like so much more to it than just this. And I know your certifications are on sale at the moment for 50% off, which is amazing because the price, I looked at it, I'm like, wait, really? You're not going to rob me for this right now? It is priced so well. And how long is the sale going on for? Do you have a cutoff
Yeah,
date for
till
it?
the end of the month, till April 30th.
So I need to post this ASAP then. I'm just going to bump you to the head of my
Yeah.
little lineup here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and we did this for the people that are struggling, and we'll see what comes if we decide to do another promotion. This is the lowest we've ever offered it, and probably the lowest we will ever offer it. So I absolutely say take advantage now. $50 is such a small investment to
It's
keep your
literally
clients safe.
nothing for a
And to be honest,
certification.
you're going to want to sport the little pin that says you've been sanitized, because after this, your clients are going to wonder, how are you protecting them? I just talked about this on my Instagram. You need something that says I have taken additional training, and to have such a robust training for such a small price, to me, and this is because it's my business, but it's a no-brainer.
Well, it's definitely it's a no-brainer, but at the same time, there's been so little light shed on this, so I'm so glad that you're doing this because it's a huge task what you're taking on, and it's a
I know.
huge mission. And I'm so glad you're doing this. I'm so glad that it's snowballing because it's just gonna keep going and going and going until it's nothing but the standard, which is what it should have been like years and decades ago. But it's just a
Yeah.
matter of breaking those really bad habits, and the more people that do it, the more people that will continue to do it, the more clients will be more knowledgeable, and the more we're not risking our lives and other people's lives as well. Like it's not just okay, let's be clean. It can go a lot deeper than that. So it is super 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 important. I'm really glad that's something that you're taking on because it's a
Yeah.
lot of work. I totally understand that.
Yeah.
Do you have
Well, we're happy if we can make a difference in the industry. I feel like it's my way of contributing to such an amazing career that I had for so many years. I just wanted to stay intact.
well, you've already broken my habit of like that whole like I'll try the medical tape for working off the back of my hand because I think that's a great idea, and I didn't know that you could wrap it. I had issues with the other one with it peeling and the skin getting really dry, so I think that's a great idea. And like, do you have anything like any sort of advice to those that are going to listen to this episode, take it in, feel like it's too much work, and just kind of go about doing things the way that they have been doing? Anything
Yeah,
to
I mean,
convince them?
anything is like, I never want you to put your clients at in harm's way, but everything has steps. So if you even can just say, I'm gonna over the next month include these two new steps. And as it becomes a routine, it becomes so natural to you, you don't do makeup any other way. So I would love to say, no, you have to implement them all right now and keep your clients safe. But if you even are doing 50% better than what you were doing, then you're already protecting your client 50% more than you were before. And
I love
yourself,
that.
now that we've seen what the effects of the coronavirus can do, now is it's more important now than ever that you protect yourself. We are never worried about ourselves, right? You probably weren't worried about the back of your hand. You were like,
No.
oh, my clients. I mean, what if your client gave you something? Right. So yeah, I know you're a dog mom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have a baby. We get scratches and dings and dangs on our hands all the time. What if
Yeah.
you caught something? So I think it's important. Just one thing at a time. Do your best. Rewatch the program. You have access to it. Keep watching the application and see what it is that you can pick up that you can can be easily implemented into your application.
I love that. Just one thing at a time until it becomes a part of your routine, because that really helps from the overwhelm of like, oh my God, I have to implement all of this. It's going to take so much time. How am I
Yeah.
going to do this? But if you
Yeah.
start doing it little by little and breaking it down, that's a great idea. Devawn, can you tell our listeners where they can find you, where they can sign up? I'll also link everything in the show notes below.
Yes. So you can definitely find us on our website. I mean, that's where you need to purchase the training. So you want to go to sanitationconversation.com. And then, of course, we're on Insta. We have uh, Insta stories, and we have TV and all of the different outlets. I can't even keep up with what Instagram is doing anymore. You have to talk to my tech team. And we're on Facebook and we're on Twitter. So you can find us in any of those areas. And of course, in your link, I'm sure, to your podcast or any other social outlets you have. We would love to give your listeners a little goodie bag. Just a couple things if you want to, if we can provide you with a code, and when they purchase the training, they'll get an extra couple of things for their sanitation kit.
That is incredible. So you'll be getting the training at 50% off if you're signing up before April the 30th, unless it does get extended. And you're going to get an extra little goodie bag. So that is amazing. I'll link that code in the show notes as well to save you guys from writing it down.
Yeah, that's great.
All right. Thank
you
so much for coming on. I absolutely appreciate it. I know all the artists listening right now are going to very much appreciate it as well. So how are you feeling after that? It was a lot, right? But keep in mind, all you're trying to do right now, if you're feeling overwhelmed, is implement one thing at a time. Just choose one thing that makes the most sense to you and implement it until it becomes a routine. Again, I've gone ahead, I've done all the work for you. Everything is in the show notes if you go to www.thebridalbeautybusiness.com. Click on the episode and you have all the notes there for you, as well as a link to the Sanitation Conversation certification program. We really hope this episode is valuable to you. If it helped you in any way, share it with someone else so you can help them as well. Thanks for listening.